This is a Phantom Thoughts RPG a Day 2025 episode. For this year, for RPG a Day, I will attempt to use the prompts to create elements of an adventure module. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have everything you need that you put together party characters and go on an adventure. The day 2 prompt for RPG a Day this year is prompt. So obviously the first thing you think of when you're thinking of prompt as a prompt is prompt as a prompt. Wow, I'm repeating myself here. The point is prompt could mean, as it does in the context of RPG a Day, an idea seed as a starting point. It could also be motivation, a motivation to do something, to start something, what prompts you to act. So in this case, it could be what prompted the patron to need a group of adventurers, what is prompting the adventurers in order to give them the motivation to go on an adventure. Prompt also could do with time. It could be that certain timing is necessary to enter a location. You think of locks on certain modern vaults that are set that will only open at a certain time. Time could also be deterministic in terms of being on time to a meeting. So, for example, if the party agrees to meet with the patron at a certain time to find out what the patron wants, when they get to the meeting, are they early? Are they on time? Are they late? Could determine exactly what kind of mission, what kind of quest the patron offers them. If they're late for some reason, if something gets in their way and causes them to be late, the patron may give them a lower level, for lack of a better term, mission in order to determine how dependable the adventurers would be. You could also see be prompt as in there's a time limit to do something. You think of situations where you see in the movies where the hero is racing to disarm a bomb, and you have to do that within a certain amount of time. It could also be a situation where there is some sort of ritual that has to go on, something that is astrologically related, or something that is related to the particular seasons, or or has to be done before a king is crowned, or has to be done before the last leaf of fall hits the ground. It could be any kind of things in a fantasy context that has to occur before something happens or after something happens, or at an exact time when there's a certain alignment of the stars or the planets. So specifically for this adventure, I think it makes sense that the party needs to be on time. They've accepted the meeting with this patron, this Lamnia noble, but of course this noble is, not necessarily suspicious, but nervous about involving others in their real business, not necessarily their merchant business. And at least one rival or figure of influence will want to intercept the PCs to either deter them or to intimidate them, or maybe to hire them themselves. If the PCs are late, they'll be given a job to prove themselves, going after a rogue Lamnia that's been operating out of the instructions of the noble, is drawing maybe more attention to themselves than they need to, and before the noble was going to seek another way to deal with them, but they'll send the party after them instead. The primary job is going to be traveling with one of the merchant caravans that's moving in the direction towards the old Lamnia noble's lair. And the party's mission will be, once they get to that location, they'll peel off from the caravan and go to that lair. And of course, this mission itself needs to be done promptly, because the longer it takes to get there, the more likely it is to be found by others, whether it's rivals of the Lamnia noble in her role as a merchant wife, or perhaps rivals within the Lamnia themselves, the Lamia, I keep wanting to put an N in there, or just opportunistic monsters or creatures. So again, promptness is going to be a key, and if the PCs delay leaving because they have to prove themselves, that could prove detrimental. But in addition to whatever treasures this Lamia noble may want recovered, there's also something else there, an item or information, maybe a grimoire of some sort, something that is key to some kind of ritual related to the god this patron worships. Because we've seen from our roles previously that the patron is very pious. And certainly there being such a ritual that adds in the other definition of prompt, that there's a timing to this kind of ritual that needs to take place at a certain place at a certain time. And now moving back to the issue of PCs making the meeting on time, particularly with local officials, a mayor, a marshal, that might stop the PCs that would have interest in the ongoing doings of this Lamian noble, because they've noticed something change with this merchant who would probably be well known in the town. A change to the merchant themselves because of the loss of wisdom due to the contact with the Lamian noble. The fact that this merchant wife that they brought in has been taking on a ever bigger role in the organization, out of necessity, because the wisdom that they drained has compromised the merchant's ability to make decisions. The fact that the Lamian noble may have been seen in the wrong side of town, and that within the town, that on this wrong side of town, people have been going missing, and that it's gotten to the extent that vagrants and orphans and things of that nature, people of that nature that are missing, are beginning to take have attracted the notice of the movers and shakers of the political wise anyway of the town, even though the fate of the underclasses might not be a priority of such powerful people. Eventually that would bring their notice. So with the notion that the party needs to be on time, that things could delay them, I came up with a 2d6 table, and the party's actions will be able to influence a plus or minus on this roll to determine how prompt they are arriving at the meeting, due to all the things that could be swirling around them when they try to make it to this conversation. So on a 2 to 3, a party member is mistaken for a wanted criminal and the party is detained by the town guard. On a 4 to 5, a rival patron insists on a short conversation and the party is late unless they take extreme action. On a 6, the mayor visits the party discreetly. How long they converse will determine their fate. On a 7, unexpectedly crowded streets, and the party will have to be resourceful or lucky to make it on time. On an 8, the party makes it cleanly to the meeting. On a 9 or 10, the party beats the patron to the meeting. And on an 11 to 12, the party is so early they have time to get a good look at the location of the meeting, of the tavern they're meeting in, and its clientele. And then finally, talking on the meaning of the word prompt as to what has prompted the party to do this. If I end up with an adventure where maybe there's a sample or pre-gen party included, they could be tied to the tavern or the city or the world, or by relationships or goals, and that could factor into why they took this job. Of course, if it ends up being an adventure run by a group, the PC goals would be determined by the players why they want to take this particular mission, but depending on the rest of the background of this module, that could be dovetailed into the adventure by a resourceful GM. Of course, that would be individual to the group. So I think that covers prompt. The opening theme of this podcast was Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Night Radio, both from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you have any thoughts or feedback, you can get in touch with me by leaving me a voicemail on my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. That's 864-209-1441. Or through SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. That's www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. Or you can send me a message or an audio file on Discord, where I can be found the Pink Phantom, or through email, phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. That's phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. I don't have to play or read your feedback on the podcast if that is not your preference. Just let me know.